to my radio audience. My name is Richard Davis, musician, and I'm on Days Gone By on UNC Radio.
Welcome back to Dave's Gone By, and we're going to be taking a musical bent for the next few minutes because my guest is truly a legendary musician, both in jazz and pop rock circles. This man has worked with and played with everyone from Leonard Bernstein to Elvin Jones to Laura Nyro to Miles Davis to Frank Sinatra to Bruce Springsteen. He's also been an educator for many years at the University of Wisconsin. His specialty is the double bass, and you can hear that on Bruce Springsteen's first album, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey. You hear it on Born to Run, even, and one of the absolute greatest albums of all time, Van Morrison's Astral Weeks, which just would not be the album that it is without Richard Davis's bass. In fact, Grail Marcus called Davis's work on Astral Weeks, quote, the greatest bass he ever heard on a rock album, and I am inclined to agree. So it is a pleasure and an honor for us to welcome to the Daverhood, Richard Davis. Hello and welcome to you.
Well, hello and welcome to myself.
Okay. First of all, do you still teach? Are you still at University of Wisconsin?
I retired 2 years ago.
But you still play? Do you still practice?
Well, in a way, I'm not as busy as I always have been, but I'm always practicing in my mind.
Wow.
My mind stays busy on the bass.
Are your fingers okay? I mean, I think you're 89 years old. Is that true?
88.
88. Oh, sorry. I didn't want to make you older than you were. But are your fingers okay? Do you have arthritis, or are you physically capable of playing?
I'm capable of playing. My arthritis is in my knee.
Oh.
And I never played with my knee before.
Do you ever go and play with other people, in clubs, in local places or concerts? No?
I stopped doing that.
Because?
Oh, I don't have any interest in playing like that again. Although I do have some things coming up, which is commemorative of an award I'm receiving in October.
Ooh, what award?
I don't know the name of it. Somebody told me. Well, I know what it is. They're naming a street after me.
They're naming a street after you? Where? In Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Richard Davis Street. Where is it? What corner?
What corner?
Yeah, Davis and what?
It's a new street called Richard Davis Lane.
That is so cool. Congratulations. That's amazing.
Well, thank you.
Now, did they ever do anything for you in Chicago? Because that's where you were born.
Yeah. Well, Chicago, although I was born and raised there and started my career there, Chicago has never made me feel like they are honoring what I've done, which is okay.
Okay. And you moved to New York in the early 1950s and just started circulating around the jazz clubs of that time?
Yeah.
So what are some of your earliest memories of playing in clubs in New York?
Well, working in Village Vanguard, which is the oldest club in the world.
Yeah.
And several other clubs that are significant to jazz history. Any club in New York that had the word jazz, I worked it several times with different artists.
Did you have any particular favorites that you enjoyed playing with?
Eric Dolphy.
Eric Dolphy, okay. Why him?
Well, he was like a soulmate. And I met in some heaven somewhere. And we clicked together. He became my best friend. He died when he was 34. And he inspired me quite a bit. I just loved the way he was as an angel that he was. Definitely an angel.
Wow. Do you have an anecdote of some precious particular memory of being pals with Eric Dolphy?
Eric always said that a note goes into the air and then it's gone forever. That was his thing. He's quite a spiritual person. And he, along with John Coltrane, set the pattern for the spirituality of music all over the universe.
Did you ever get to meet or play with either Train or Bird?
Well, I never sat in with Bird, but Coltrane offered me a job when he was ordering food for his wife in the kitchen of Birdland. And I was in such awe of him, I never answered. I just walked away from him. I was shocked. I never answered him. He said, "We like you to join the band." And years later, I thought about it and said, was I dreaming that? So I asked McCoy Tyner, who was with him at that time. And I said, did Coltrane ever ask or say anything about me joining the band? He said, he talks about it all the time.
Wow. And you were so shocked at being in his presence that it kind of went in one ear and out the other, and you didn't even think to say yes?
I didn't think at all.
Wow.
He affected people like that. He stopped junkies from being junkies. He stopped prostitutes from being prostitutes. People we had never met. He just was attracted to the intensity of his performance.
I'm kind of curious because it may be a cliche, but so many musicians, and especially jazz musicians, are given to being addicted to alcohol or drugs or gambling or things like that. Were you able to stay on a pretty straight path, or did you have your issues?
Well, my answer to that is that you only hear about musicians because they're popular, but there's so many other people who never played a note of music who are strung out. And I met a lot of them too. Matter of fact, I was supposed to be the matured one who guided them alone when they were strung out.
But you stayed off pretty much everything and stayed fairly healthy.
I never got on anything.
Wow.
The music made me high enough.
When did you realize that music was in your soul and that you had to be a musician?
When I was about 15, 1945. See, in those days, you heard the live bands on the stage in your neighborhood theater. And I was very impressed with what I was looking at and hearing. And I said, that's for me.
Do you remember the first, I guess it would have been a 78, or the first piece of recorded music that you ever heard, or that really affected you?
I was heavily into Duke Ellington.
Duke Ellington, yeah.
And I started listening to him when I was 12 years old. And all through the years, even today. Matter of fact, just before you called, I was singing one of Ben Webster's solos in my head. Are you familiar with Ben Webster? Ben
Webster, no, unfortunately. I have to admit, I'm more familiar, much more, with pop and rock and roll than I am with jazz. Let me ask, we're talking with Richard Davis, the bass player, man who has played with such legendary jazz musicians also as Miles Davis. Do you have any memories or stories about Miles Davis?
Yeah, but I don't think I can repeat them on the radio.
Oh, on my show you can. Believe me, you can. It's okay.
You asked for it.
Okay.
Well, Miles wanted me to come to California with him, and I didn't want to go. He would say, come on, motherfucker. Come go to California with me. I said, well, Miles, I promised my wife I would stop traveling. I've been on the road with Sarah Vine for 5 years. He said, man, the wives know that you got to travel. Come on out here, motherfucker. I said, Miles, I can't go. He said, well, if you come out here,
right.
I told my students that, and they said, "Well, did you go?"
Did you?
I'll leave them at that. They're still guessing.
All right. Well, you did. Yeah, sorry.
I tell 2 innings that story.
That's.
Last I heard, she drowned.
Oh.
While giving a blowjob.
Yeah. Thanks for warning us before that story. Yeah, I do appreciate that. So, and you mentioned touring for 5 years with Sarah Vaughan. Do you have any Sarah Vaughan stories? I assume they would not be like that one.
Well, I have some Sarah Vaughan stories.
Yeah?
I don't know how much time you got. This is a fairly long story.
I'll make time.
Mistaken identity. You want to hear that?
I will make time, yes.
Okay, well, we're in Europe with her trio. And this one guy, I forget where we were, but he was in love with Sarah Vaughan. And he asked us which one of us was married to her. None of us were married to her. And he was surprised. And we said, well, do you want to make out with her? He said, yeah. So we arranged it.
Really?
Yeah, Sarah's like one of the guys, talk to her about anything. So we arranged it, and we saw him the next day, and he said, she went into this room in her hotel, I guess her bedroom, and she never came out. And so we said, man, we got to get to the bottom of this. So then we asked her what happened. And she said she went into her bedroom, took off her wig, long eyelashes, and makeup, and came out and sat next to him on the couch. And he never said a word to her. So we had to figure out what happened.
Huh.
He did not recognize her. He thought she was Sarah's. He thought that the woman he saw was Sarah Vaughan's maid.
How did she feel about the experience?
Well, she just said he doesn't talk much. We never told her what happened.
Well, no. Oh, man. Well, that is a cool, not a story I was expecting either. You have such amazing stories. Tell me, then, that you also have... First of all, when did you work with Frank Sinatra?
I worked with Frank Sinatra. See, I was what you call a studio recording musician.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you lay tracks out for these artists, and you never see them. So you might say I was working with him, for him, but not really intimately.
So you got charts and you played them, but he was in another room, or not even necessarily there when you were there?
You got it.
Okay. It's like when I talk about the pop musicians, I think it will be different when you played for Astral Weeks with Van Morrison. He had to have been there. That was all spontaneous almost, yes?
He was there.
Yeah. What was he like? Because he's notoriously prickly and ill-tempered, or so people say. How was he?
You got it.
Oh, yeah? Even then?
Well, then I didn't know him. He just some guy walked in the studio and started singing. But through the years, I've only heard bad, negative things about him.
Yeah. But you don't have any bad stories, or do you have good stories of that experience? I mean, Astral Weeks is one of the great albums ever. Oh, let me ask you, do you agree with that? Or is it just another album to you?
At the time, it was just another album.
Mm-hmm.
The way people talk about it, and the way they talked about my performance on the album, I started thinking, I said, maybe it was good.
And, well, it's more than good. It's actually quite great. There's no other bass playing I've ever heard on a popular music album where you are, in some cases, carrying some of the... I mean, all the songs are wonderful, but the bass is driving the track.
So he never gave me credit for that. Matter of fact, he was envious of all the attention I got.
Huh.
He did not get.
So when he went back and did Astral Weeks live a few years ago, you weren't part of the band again. He did it with a different band, yeah?
That was a long story, too.
Oh, okay. I'm listening.
Well, he would find people at the drop of a hat, and I was amongst one of them.
Oh.
And my girlfriend was at the recording. And she said as soon as he walked in, and you're the first person I think I've told this to. As soon as he walked in, he said, "What kind of bass are Richard Davis playing?" Nobody asked you that question. But he was looking for somebody to pick on.
Mm-hmm.
So she and I went back to Wisconsin. And the guy who delivered the message to me said, "We don't have time for you to learn that piece. I'm the one who made the piece."
Whoa. I don't...
So she hated him for that.
Yeah.
And the guy who delivered the message, who was a friend of mine, he fired him a year later.
Yeah.
And the guy who recorded this phenomenal album, who's a dear friend of mine today, Brooks Arthur, one of the finest engineers in the world. He asked him to get all the mechanics together because we were going to record in California.
Mm-hmm.
2 months later, he fired him. He's known to be an asshole.
Yeah. As you know, you are far from the first or last person to say that about him. And I'm sorry to hear that, because that was one of the great recordings. Did you... Sorry, you were going to say?
People are still asking about the album and the date and how we come together with all these beautiful ideas. They don't know that I instrumented the whole thing.
That's amazing. I mean, just the feeling of it is different even from any other Van Morrison album that came later. When he went on to Moondance, it was already a whole different vibe from that amazing session. Now, did you have a better experience with Bruce Springsteen?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was entirely different.
Tell.
Entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, what was that like when you were working with Bruce on his first album, Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey?
Well, see, I didn't even know who he was.
Right.
Like I said, you recorded with so many musicians during the week.
Yeah.
You don't know half of them, but they know you. And he was entirely different. Matter of fact, I played with him in Milwaukee, I guess, 3 years ago. And he invited my girlfriend and 8 of her relatives down to this club and gave us a great banquet. He was just after. And so I said, how did that, you got to know who I was?
See, that's the kind of story we want to hear about rock stars.
What?
You know?
What?
No, I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that's nice to hear about rock. And not only were you on that first album, but you were on one of my very favorite tracks on Born to Run, Meeting Across the River. Did you arrange that one?
No, I had nothing to do with it. See, he just called me in to do this piece. Well, let me say the story about how I first met him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I had a young fella who thought I walked on water.
Yeah.
He thought I was a great bass player and a great person. And he'd come to my house all the time. So this one time, I said, I'm getting ready to do a recording. You want to come along? He said, yeah. And he had his girlfriend with him. I said, bring her too. So we went to the studio. And I was sitting there with all these strangers.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Springsteen was one of them. I didn't know who he was. And so he said, we're going to roll this tape, and we want you to add some bass to it. Okay. He was upset that somebody was criticizing, but unhappy. So I had to go in and shut him up.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Came out, did another take, and that was it.
Because it's a beautiful track. It's one of my favorite Springsteen numbers ever. Can I ask, you've also worked and done quite a bit of classical music. What makes a good or a great classical music conductor?
Well, you asked a loaded question. When people ask me what makes a great composer great, my answer is to them is people still like hearing their music.
Right, but what makes a conductor great?
I know. Getting to that now.
Ah, sorry.
A conductor is like the greatest football coach you ever seen. They can get you to work together with basically strangers as if you all married each other. They have that way of pulling people together. Some of the greatest conductors I worked with were Leonard Bernstein stands on top of this. And then there was George Zell. There was Leopold Stokowski.
You worked with all these people. George Zell, Leopold Stokowski, Leonard Bernstein. You played in orchestras for them.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you have any specific memories or anecdotes of any of these great conductors?
Well, you want to hear a risque story?
Always.
I've never told anyone before.
I don't think it could get more risque than the Miles Davis one, but go for it.
Okay, I'm working with Toscanini.
Yeah?
Are you old enough to know that name?
Arturo Toscanini, yes.
Oh, of course. Well, he was the greatest of the greatest. And I'm working with him. I was contracted to do this job by one of my friends, who's also a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never told this story to anybody. But you're the first. David Lefkowitz.
Yeah. That'd be me. So tell me. Yeah?
Okay, so we went out for a break. 10 or 20-minute break. And the contractor came back early. And there was Toscanini screwing his prima donna opposite on the couch.
Whoa.
And Toscanini looked up at him and said, "Mom's the word."
God, musicians do get a lot of tail. They do. Classical, jazz, rock. This is why guys go into music, man. Well, but you were married early, right?
Yeah.
Were you a good boy on the road when you were with bands and stuff, or did your wife kind of understand, hey, when he's home, but when he's not, he's not?
I never asked her the question. I was not a good boy.
Oh, okay. Do you have kids?
Huh?
Do you have children?
Yeah, I had 4.
Oh,
one died.
I'm sorry.
There's another one who's serving a jail sentence for armed robbery. But I have 2 that are choice. Now, one biological, my daughter, who's picked up looking at right now.
Oh.
And one is my son, adopted from Japan.
From Japan? Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
And have you been married to the same woman all along?
I've had 3 wives.
Oh, okay.
And one wish that I could have married the fourth woman. But she understood. And he would say, "You're really married anyway. 13 years together. I'm looking at her picture right now."
Oh. So, let me ask you, do you have like an all-time favorite piece that you played on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Some of my favorite, matter of fact, one of my favorite pieces is being played in October at this concert. It's, you know the name Bill Lee?
I'm sorry, again?
Bill.
Oh, Bill Lee, the bass. Yeah, he's a bass player. We used to be on the Letterman band. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Bill was one of the greatest arrangers and composers for the bass. And he had a group of 8 bass players playing like a choir. And he was conducting, performing, and producing folk operas. Did all of the parts, and he wrote all these terrific bass parts. He had me playing the lead part. And you know the name Ron Carter, of course.
Yes.
Michael Fleming, Lyle Atkinson, Sam Jones.
Okay.
Mr. Heath, Bill Skinton. We all met in my house in New York.
Wow.
We did some of the most unusual, unique music ever. When we broke up, Bill Lee cried like a baby. If you don't know what you're doing, it's that you're breaking a legacy.
Yes.
And he was right.
Wow.
We all had our separate careers. Now on that album, one piece called Monica. I'll never forget it.
Monica. Okay.
And that's what we're playing in October.
Wow. Wow. Can I ask, before I let you go, I do have to sort of go and make sure that I ask about some people, just in case you knew them or played with them. For example, Louis Armstrong.
And well, you know, it's funny you asked that question, because one of my students at university said, "I have a recording with you playing with Louis Armstrong." And I said, "I never played with him." He said, "I have the album at my house, and your name is on it." And then I realized that I played a birthday party for Louis Armstrong. I had no idea that it was recorded.
Wow. Was he on... But you were playing at his birthday party. Was he playing, or were you just in a band playing for him?
He was playing.
Oh, cool. And you didn't even remember... Well, you knew you were at the party, but you never didn't know they were recording the track.
No, I didn't.
He seemed like a really good, nice guy. Did you get that feeling from him at the party?
Oh, yeah, I got to know him.
Really?
Because I sit next to him in the same jazz club, because he was the other band. As we sat next to each other, he started talking about Swiss Chris. You ever hear of Swiss Chris?
A Swiss Chris?
You know what that is?
I have no idea.
It's a laxative.
Oh, God. Why was he talking about this?
Why?
Yeah.
Because we were talking about partying.
Oh.
And, getting drunk and, all kinds of fancy food. And whenever you do that, always take some Swiss Chris before you go to bed.
Why is it that every story you have about a famous person is involving either really weird sexual things or constipation? This is wonderful. I love it.
Let's see, somebody in the room said,
Yeah.
Suppose you know, he said, suppose you don't wake up in time. He said, it'll wake you up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Leo Armstrong was one of the funniest guys ever. And people said he was Uncle Tom. He was far from that.
Good to know. Yeah, if you ever, I'm sure you have, but when Ken Burns did that big documentary about jazz, it always came back to Louis Armstrong. It always tried to make the case for him being, in some ways, the father of American jazz. You know.
No truer words were ever spoken.
Cool. Well, you are certainly one of the great children of American jazz and pop and rock as well. It's been absolutely so much fun and delightful talking to Richard Davis. I guess my last question for you is, if there was one thing that you were trying to communicate to your music students at the University of Wisconsin about music, about playing, what was that?
What was one thing I would say?
Like if you had to leave your students at the end of a semester with one big message, what would it be?
Practice. I have one more thing to tell you about
Oh, please.
Louis Armstrong.
Oh, yeah, please.
I've forgotten what it was already.
Well, does it still involve Swiss Chris?
No.
Oh, no. different thing. And, well, we can. God, it seems like any jazz person that I can name, you knew and played with and.
Oh, I know what it was.
Ah, yes.
My mother was from New Orleans, and that's all they talked about when I was a kid was Louis Armstrong. She had recordings of his. And my first marriage, I invited her to New York for my wedding. And you know who was playing on the bandstand?
No.
Louis Armstrong.
Oh.
They were in heaven.
I can imagine. Oh, that's...
There's a guy who they just knew through recordings, legacy, and they were sitting there listening to him in New York City.
It must have been one of her proudest, most wonderful moments.
It was.
Yeah.
I was proud to have been a part of that.
And actually, before, I might as well ask as well, did you know Monk?
Did I know Monk? Man.
Okay.
There's three guys that I wanted to play with and never did. Well, Thelonious Monk, John Lewis, and Horace Silver. Now, John Lewis, who I just admired, I thought he was God. But I met him in New York. I walked up to him. He said, how did you ever conceive that piece? You know that piece? He wrote that piece.
Oh my gosh, okay.
And man, all he did was bend over, smiling. Years later, he called me to come to New York because he wanted to invite me to dinner. He was married to an Hungarian woman. He was into the Hungarian culture.
Okay.
And his wife was Hungarian. So they set me up at his house on the Upper East Side with the greatest dinner I've ever had. He said, I want you to go on tour with me. And man, I was in heaven.
Yeah.
And he gave me the music. This is the music. He said, in 2 months, we're going to go on tour. He called me a month later. He died.
Well, yeah.
I was brokenhearted, man. My chance to Dolphy with John Lewis. That guy. Now, Horace Silver always thought I was the bass player for him, but he thought I was too expensive.
Wait, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Huh?
I didn't hear what you just said.
He said he thought I was too expensive.
Oh, oh, okay.
Now, Monk and I love every note he played.
Yeah.
Still do. But it never happened. Those are the things I want to leave you with. If you have any other questions,
I think. Well, I think we're great. I just want to thank you so much for being with us in the neighborhood, for sharing your stories, even the most, well, especially the most risque ones about your life, about your music. I wish you good health. I wish you great music in your head, even when you're not playing it with your hands and fingers anymore, and just lots more good times in your life. Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Looby, dooby, looby, sooby, looby, movie, dooby.
Bye-bye now.
Hey!